Good day, everybody. I thought I'd run over a quick onion cutting demonstration. We'll run through it really fast, and we'll first talk about the 6 steps of cutting an onion. I drew a quick diagram, forgive my art. So we're gonna start out with our onion with all the stuff on, and we're just gonna drive down and we're gonna make a small cut here in box 1. We're gonna just shave off the root part, and then we're gonna cut off the flower part. Our second step in our diagram is we have our stabilized end. We're gonna rock that onion onto the cutting board and drive down the center as evenly as possible. Our third step is to go ahead and clean off the outer skin and throw it in our prepared junk bowl. Step 4 is going to be what I liken to like a sunshine cut or a radius cut. Team, a lot of us have been instructed, or we see in YouTube demos, to make a horizontal cut right here to help us with our dice on our onion. But I have found that that is dangerous, and I don't want you cutting your fingers off, okay? So I came up with a new plan on how you get a beautiful, appropriate, clean dice and not risk cutting off your pinkies. So we're going to use this radius cut because if we cut in this radius direction here, we still get the same looking cut from all of the segments of our onion. Whereas if we had driven our knife down straight, we would have these weird routed edges and we wouldn't have a proper dice. After this sunshine or radius cut, we're going to go ahead and go drive down the spine of our onion, what I call the outside spine of our onion, and that's where we get our dice. We've seen like the cross hatches that we did with our carrots last week. So this is just the same concept. You're making the squares. So then we go ahead and do our dice. We control the size of our dice by controlling where we make our cut. And then the very last is waste, right? So that little root part at the end, it still has a little bit of perfectly great onion on that. So we're just going to rock that down on our cutting board and make some small cuts and use 100% of our onion and reduce the waste there. So now that we've seen steps, let's walk through the steps. I'm going to cut the first half of the onion all the way through with a radius cut. And I'm going to show you that center cut on the second half of the onion so you can see what I'm talking about and make some decisions from there, okay? So go ahead, we got step 1. We have our clean sanitized work surface. I've already washed my hands before this demo. I do have rings on. This one happens to have stones in it. I don't think I can get it off. I'm gonna leave this on. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make our cuts. Look at my knife grip, right? I'm a blade gripper person myself, so I'm up here on the bolster, got my hand all wrapped around here, and I'm just gonna make my first cut. And this is the flower end. See how it's got this part on it? This is what was coming up out of the ground and made a little flower. So we cut off the flower end. We make a like a little less than an inch cut in. All right, we got that rolling, and then I got a little junk falling off. We come around to this root end, but this root, team, it's the anchor that holds this project together. So the point isn't to come way up here and make a cut. It's actually just to do a tiny little shave, just to get the little fuzzies off, the dirt off, things that can get into our dish and lose pride and plate and gross our customers out. Because if any of this lands into your dish, your customer's going to think the worst thing possible. They're going to think you dropped it on the ground or it's grass when it was just a mistake. So we get rid of that. Just a little shave. See? So I still have a lot of my root. I have like the base of the root to hold this project together. It was the root that hold this onion to the ground, and it's the root that's going to hold this project together. Okay? Now, step 2, rock it right onto its stabilized surface, and we drive down the center. I'm looking straight down the spine of my blade. I can see exactly what I'm about to do, and I'm going to make the truest halve that I can. Remember, if I'm standing over here, I don't know what's happening, and I could be making a crummy cut. So I like to get these as truly halved as possible to struggle the least with cutting onions, okay? Now, a lot of you cry when you cut onions, and the truth is it's about technique. If you can get yourself to use your blade and not your strength, you will not cry, okay? Because if you pass that sharp blade through your onion, and you don't rupture all those cells, it won't release those gases that make you cry. So it's all about your blade and not your strength again this week, okay? So my elbow draws back. I can see exactly what I'm about to do. And then from tip to heel, I make my cut, okay? See how, look at the end, I'm way back here on the heel, okay? So I've gotten that in half. Step 3 was what? Clean the outside off, right? We just go ahead and grab. So instead of having the onion all together and wasting my time as I pick at it, I cut it in half first. Just cut it in half first, okay? If your onion has a whole bunch of dark green right here, peel that off, okay? Anything that looks real thin on the outer layer of your onion too, it won't ever cook soft. So just go ahead and peel it off. So like right here, see how green it is here? I'm gonna ditch that off, all right? We ditch that off. I have this half of the onion and then I got a little bit of my fuzz here. So I'm gonna clean up my cutting board. Notice I have my junk plate all ready for me. And I'm not walking around looking for a garbage to get rid of things. So that's done. We're gonna set that aside. Now your instruction here, this is where we make the sunshine cut. So here we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna working to drive down the onion like that, okay? So I have my knife grip and then I'm up over my onion where I belong. And I'm gonna make sure that I use my blade and not my strength so I don't start balling in the middle of this demo. All right, so I'm gonna just drive in and my goal is to drive it kind of towards the center. So cut one, see it? I'm just gonna keep going. And then notice how my knife goes all the way back here, but I leave this back anchor part right here. See how there's like a whole finger length back here? All right, so I'm going in and I'm controlling the size of my dice by how big I make my cuts from each other on this radius cut. So I just work through. All right, so look, I've got my radius cuts all the way around here. We're ready to roll. So now it's time to just dice. All right, so I want a small dice, 1/4 inch. All right, so then my elbow draws back and I'm just driving forward team. All right, notice how quiet it is on my cutting board. Notice my face is directly above this onion. I'm not crying because I'm using my blade and not my strength. So now I'm down to this last little chunk here, this step 6. And some people would be tempted to just chuck this. And we're not going to chuck this because we are professionals and we love our food cost. A lot of energy went into making this food and bringing it to the table. So we want to use 100% of it and make the most money in our restaurants and stuff like that. So we lay it down. So it was like this, remember? Now we're just going to lay it down and we can see some little cuts here still. And sometimes I'll just go ahead and extend them in closer to my root that I can see. And then now we go through and we just cut the remainder. So now, look at, that's all the waste left on that. And I'm okay with that. And then all that was a solid like tablespoon plus of onion. That's product. 2 tablespoons is an ounce. Every single onion you would waste an ounce of product. That would add up. Okay, so I have this dice ready. All right, so let's look at it, what it would have looked like if I had done that classical dice on my onion, if I had done the inside cut. So what scares me about this cut team is we're asking you to stabilize the onion and we're asking you to pass your blade. Make sure you get your board. If you're going to try this, you want to get your board to the edge of your counter because you need to be able to work off of, you need to have this finger clearance space. If you're over here and you're trying to do this cut, your knuckles are going to get away. You need to be able to come off and work over here. So we're asking you to plant your hand on the top of your onion and all 5 fingers are reaching for the ceiling. They're all reaching for the sun. No laziness of our fingers start to like crawl down. Our hand can't slope off to the back, not even our palm, because if something happens and we pass through this onion, we can't be tagging our fingers. And that's why this cut is sketchy and dangerous for some people. So this is what we're asking. Palm goes on the top, all 5 fingers reach for the sun, all 5. And then we get down and we look with our eyes and we find our spot. And we make sure that the heel of the knife and the tip of the knife are level, right? So we want a level cut. Look at that's not super level. See, that's not what we want. So Miss P's got to fix that, doesn't she? So now we're going to get in there. All 5 fingers are reaching for the sun. We make our cut. Okay, so I have my cut. And what I'm going to do, instead of trying to like saw back and forth or push with my strength, is all I'm going to do is just give it a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Slowly pay attention to what you're doing. Be mindful. And then now look, see how I'm back. Let me put my blade back in there. See how I'm way back here? I stop because we need our anchor still to hold this project together. All right, and then we go ahead and we can do another cut up a little bit higher and we just wiggle, 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 right? But all my fingers are reaching for the sun. And if this blade passes through the backside, no big deal because my hand is out of the way. All right, so that's how we make those traditional cuts when we're doing a dice. But because we see now, if we just pass our blade down straight rather than sunshine, this center cut is going to address that weird outside shape. That's why they're doing that. So now instead of trying to angle my blade in, I can just cut straight down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my blade. I like to work this one for less tears. I like to work this one like this. I like to go all the way down like this. And you can even hear a little less noise, right? I'm controlling the size of my dice by choosing where I place my blade, correct? I need to get my hand out of the way when I get a little closer, so I'm just going to do that. I'm working all the way down, right? All the way to the other side, but never cutting through the back anchor, never cutting the root off. All right, so now with this style cut, see how we got all that dice going? And now we just are back to step 5, where we grip it and dice it, okay? So back to step 5, and we can control the size of our dice. This is where we can get tiny, like say when we're making potato salad or dicing a red onion. We want onions to be a secret. They should be a complement to a recipe. They shouldn't be an assault to our senses because we cut them up so big, okay? So we want to make them control the size of our cuts. Also with this one, you'll see that sometimes it starts to fan out because we did that cut. Okay, so this is starting to slip on me. I don't want to hurt myself. So I'm just going to go ahead. It's time to just lay it down. All right, and get the rest of my cuts out of it. I'm just going to go ahead and make my marks up here so that I get a proper dice. Ta-da! Just a little bit of waste. So this cutting board looks like white as heck. All right, so we have the method where we cut down we cut the crosshatch into the onion, and then we have here the method where we just sunshine cut. We kept all our fingers. We got the same beautiful cut. We were safe, right? This totally allowable. I'll tell you, in cooking competition, they're going to accept the sunshine cut too. I asked specifically. Okay, be safe. Work on your sunshine cut. Have a fantastic day.